Thanks for tuning in to the Good Morning Show on 98.7 FM. I'm your host, Caitlin Plaster. On this beautiful March morning, many of important events have been occurring. Today officially marks the first day of our new president, Franklin D. Roosevelt. We have 4 great stories coming your way, diving in depth about these important events. First up is Margaret Edmonds covering the Great Depression. Following her is Josh Draper with the election of Herbert Hoover's presidency. Kim will then cover the election of 1932, but last but not least, Channery will discuss the inauguration. Stay tuned for more. Now let's head over to Margaret and hear what she has to say about the Great Depression.
In this day and age, nearly 1 in every 4 Americans is unemployed. Before the Great Depression started, only 3% of American workforce was unemployed. How has this affected workers, farmers, and families? How are people surviving in this harsh economy? Those of you suffering the hardest are unemployed with families to feed. The economic crash has forced businesses to lay off their hard workers, the first to go being young, elderly, and minority workers. You may be wondering why your husbands are out of work, but your unmarried sister still gets paid for answering phones every once in then. The majority of men are working in heavy industrial labor jobs, which are declining fast with minimized consumers. However, secretary and waitress jobs are still in progress, so take the opportunity while it lasts. The Great Depression has created a seemingly endless downward spiral. With people losing all their money in the stock market crash, consumers can't buy as much as they used to. With consumers not buying as much as they used to, businesses need to account for overproduction by slowing how much they produce. With less to produce, fewer workers are needed, which means more people will be laid off. With fewer workers, there is less money being circulated around, and consumers can buy fewer products than before. If we stay on this cycle, the economy will soon be dust, and homelessness, hunger, and poverty will be the new normal. The Great Depression has greatly impacted too many American families and individuals, and if we hadn't taken action sooner, we might have not been able to get out. Thanks to our generous president, Franklin Roosevelt, scared and hungry families like the Connors are able to get back up on their feet again. Mr. Connor, how did the Great Depression affect your family?
I had to send my twin 15-year-old boys away to fend for themselves because I could not afford to feed them any longer. It was heartbreaking, but the only thing I could do to keep my wife and 4-year-old daughter alive.
That's so unfortunate. How was your problem solved?
That's where President Roosevelt comes in. He gave me a job building dams to provide cheap electricity to families like mine, and gave us a stable income. I was able to take my boys back in and have a unified family again.
What a sweet ending. Thank you for your time. Next up is Hoover's attempt to fix the Great Depression.
As the Great Depression trudges on, many people are wondering what President Hoover did to help fix this economic slump that we are in. We have political analyst Eleanor Robusco to talk about this.
Thanks, Josh. From the start of his presidency, Hoover has taken a conservative approach to this problem. He believes that the idea of rugged individualism, in which he wants private industries to help with this problem instead of the government. The last couple of years, he has changed his approach to create a Reconstruction Finance Corporation, or RFC, which has given loans to big companies for many banks. This has helped the number of banks falling and have gone down dramatically over the past couple of months. Even with this change, it has a He also had some problems, as he kicked out the bonus army very forcefully and even killed a child. As the presidency came to a close, we have seen that the things that he did to help these people, but there are many more things that he could have done over the 4 years. He was in office and fell short in many areas.
Thank you, Eleanor. We will now give an overview of the most recent election, how Hoover did, and who won.
And now for a recap of the election of 1932. In one of the darkest days of the Great Depression, 2 options were given: Hoover's unsuccessful attempts or Roosevelt's New Deal. This presidential election happened on November 8, 1932, with Democrat Franklin Roosevelt defeating former Republican President Herbert Hoover. Franklin defeated Hoover with a whopping 472 electoral votes and more than 7 male popular votes compared to Hoover's 59. Hoover's popularity with the people started to decline due to his ineffective actions and was rejected because people thought he was the cause of the Great Depression. Hoover's idea of rugged individualism, as Josh was talking about, did not exactly measure up to its standards. Similar to Theodore Roosevelt, our 26th president, Franklin's charming and magnetic personality brings hope for Americans to get out of the Depression. With his confidence, Roosevelt plans to lead America out of its misery. Shortly after this commercial break, you can look for Franklin Roosevelt's inauguration. She didn't kiss you back? It's probably bad breath. Get Listerine and your teeth will glister. This bold mouthwash kills 99.9% of bad breath germs. Say goodbye to bad breath and hello to your happy girlfriend.
hesitate, just close your mouth. Reach into your pocket and you'll see Listerine.
Good Morning Show is not responsible for any relationship malfunctions.
Earlier today, my team and I were at Franklin D. Roosevelt's inauguration speech. It was very crowded and many people were filled with panic from the stock market crash, hoping our president could give us some thoughtful insight on the Great Depression and how to fix it. Many Americans, myself included, were anxiously waiting for his take on it. If you didn't hear FDR's inauguration speech, you missed out. In FDR's speech, he talked about fear, greed, conflict, and nature. FDR talked about the hardship of the Great Depression and how we should and could ease it with his New Deal plan. He also talked about fixing and restoring our nation to the greatness it was. In the beginning of the speech, FDR says something that I feel we all needed to hear. The only thing we have to fear is fear itself. What he means by this is that instead of fearing the unknown or the possibility that everything is gone and nothing will ever come back, example the stock market crash, we need to believe that in our nation's ability to rebound from past mistakes and succeed in the future. The only fear that we should have is fearing the ideas others create from unenlightened points of views. If every American works together to build a ladder out of the hole that we created, we will make it out and just be as successful as before. The economy will be rebuilt along with the hope for our home nation. Later in the speech, FDR states an important message for every American here. Whether you attended the inauguration or not, happiness lies in the mere possession of money. It lies in the joy of achievement and the thrill of creative effort. He is encouraging Americans to not only worry about what they have lost in the stock market crash, but try and improve the struggling nation for everyone, and make a collective effort toward pure happiness of the citizens. It also relates a lot to the Great Depression and how the thought of money lost many people their jobs and ended up backfiring. It seems as though FDR is implying that we should always try to make an effort in helping others who are affected, and helping someone achieve their goal will bring joy to those who do. FDR's assertive plan and unmoving confidence has given hope and happiness to suffering Americans across the nation. Hearing the New Deal plan to move the United States in the right direction by providing citizens with jobs, fixing the banks, and regulating business has made all Americans, including myself, ecstatic about this new chapter in American country. If we can persevere and accomplish all that FDR says we can, our country will be unstoppable.
Franklin D. Roosevelt had one very interesting and inspiring speech. He spoke to millions all over the country. So first of all, let me assert my firm belief that only the thing we have to fear is fear itself. Right off the bat, he tells Americans that the only thing we should fear is fear itself. He establishes that firm belief, and he implies that others should believe this too. The new president is definitely headed in the right direction. The rest of the team and I on the Good Morning Show strongly believe that President Roosevelt will solve the Great Depression. He will bring us out of this suffering, and we will be stronger as a nation. He will rebuild our economy, expand the national government, and keep his promises to our nation. Thanks for listening. Tune back in tomorrow for your daily dose of the Good Morning Show on 98.7 FM.